The Seahawks fall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 21-16. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. It is our mailbag show where we react to the Seahawks loss. We answer your questions, whatever is on your mind, to what just went down to this game. And I got to tell you, my immediate reaction looking back at what happened with the Seattle team, that for me, I look at this, that Seattle had plenty of chances in this game. This, to me, was a situation where Seattle found themselves down early and made some mistakes. I mean, you look at what they did of not moving the football efficiently like they should have. The turnover that Geno Smith had late in the football game. And for me, one of the turning points that I look at, early in the first half, Seattle was in a situation, I believe it was 4th and 6. They were moving the football really well on that drive, and they're on the Bucs end, just a little outside of field goal range. But nonetheless, with the momentum of where they're at, I said, look, go for it. Try to get that first down, keep the drive alive, and go put 7 points on the board. Ultimately, they decided to punt on the opponent's side of the field. And what do you know, that turned into 7 points for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To me, I felt like that was the turning point in this game when things went the wrong direction for the Seattle Seahawks from that point going forward. I mean, they gave up 7 points anyway, so it did you no good to do that punt there rather than going for it. And ultimately, the Seahawks dug themselves too deep into a hole and couldn't find a way to come back into this game. They fall 21-16. So, we will do our post-game mailbag now, and you can use the hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the said mailbag show. Whatever questions you have, I have answers. We will get right to them with our post-game mailbag here on Seahawks Today, as we had a great watch party on Sunday, and these questions came straight from the watch party. So first question comes from Nick. Nick writes in, hashtag Seahawks, hashtag Papa Seahawk. Your thoughts on the performance? My opinion, it was a bad day for the team, but we got to learn from this. We can still make a playoff berth. Season ain't over. That's absolutely right. Season isn't over, Nick. This is a team that had won 4 in a row. Momentum was on their side. They were playing some good football and ran into a Bucs team that was desperate, that was hungry. Remember, the Bucs had not played well before last week when they won that game against the Rams here. And for me, you know, the Seahawks, they didn't get embarrassed. It wasn't like that Niners game they had week 2, but there was a lot of things you could point to where they got in their own way. And so for me, I look at that game for Seattle. You say, look, there's some positives of that, hey, you can get better from here, that you can get back on track, that you can get on the right track going forward, working on those little things. And for me, that's what I see with this, that, you know, every goal that they want to accomplish, the Seattle team is still in front of them. They can still do everything. One loss does not define a season. This was going to be as tough as any game this year. You're facing the greatest quarterback of all time. You're going to Europe, playing in Germany here. It's not easy. And you know what? They figured, you know, they came up short in this one. So you move on. You have a bye week, rest up, and let's see what the team does from this point going forward. But, Nick, you're absolutely right. Season is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Not a great performance by any means, but you move on. You win some, you lose some. Next question from the Boskin writes in, all first-round picks would be on the D. So I'll say that with a caveat here. The things that you look at with this offensive line, the guard spots and the center position need some improvement. You have your bookend tackles for the next decade, hopefully speaking. I think you kind of look at a situation of best available. If the Seahawks like guards and centers with their early picks more than they do their later picks, then potentially you go with a guard or a center in that spot. So I get where you're going at, Boskin, but I wouldn't necessarily say that necessarily has to happen that way. But thanks for the question there. Greg writes in, do you think K9 will get his run game started better next time around? So Kenneth Walker has been phenomenal this year. I mean, he is been just a beast for this Seattle Seahawks team. And today was his worst performance since taking over as the starting running back. Credit to the Bucs for shutting down the Seahawks run game, as Kenneth Walker was limited to 10 carries for 77 yards. Will he turn things around? I think eventually, yeah. I think he will. That was an off day. The offensive line did not do their job and did not open up the necessary holes they needed to. So I think Kenneth Walker is going to bounce back. It's just one bad game, and then you move on from here. It wasn't, necessarily his fault either. So, yeah, I think things will turn around, especially taking on that Raiders team in a couple of weeks. The Raiders are awful right now. That's the perfect opportunity for Kenneth Walker to get back on track. I think so, Greg. Greg with another question. K9 had a rough start today. What do you think he could have done different to get things going? I mean, he's not blocking. He's not the guy on the line of scrimmage, so I don't know what he could have gone and done differently. I think the only thing that they could have done differently is they could have, used him more in the pass game and substituted some of those runs for passes. I mean, that's about the only thing I can think of. I mean, the effort was there, but it just didn't work out. That's the nature of the beast sometimes. But nonetheless, thanks for the question, Greg. Next one from user 3056, hashtag Seahawks, hashtag Papa Seahawk. With the loss to the Bucs, what are the chances now of taking home the NFC West division title? So, correct me if I'm wrong on this, folks, but I believe that means Seattle's like a game and a half up on San Francisco, and you still have to play San Francisco. If San Francisco wins that game, if all records remain the same, and San Fran wins that game, then the Niners would win the division because they would have the tiebreaker from winning, 2 games there. So that would not be great. So as far as their chances go of winning the division, I think Seattle has to take care of business against the Niners, and we have to see them establish the run game and go from there. I think they still have a chance to win the division. The division did not get lost based on one game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today. There's a ways to go, but their chances, I think, are still pretty good of winning the division. But let's see where things go from here. As always, you need to subscribe to Seahawks Today. We're doing daily Seattle Seahawks content with the latest Seahawks news and rumors segments each and every day. We also do live shows on Wednesdays, our watch parties on Sundays as well. It's all in one place right here on Seattle Seahawks Today. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Be a real one. Join us. We just passed 31,000 subscribers. We did it because of you guys. Let's keep the momentum going. Subscribe now and join us each and every day here on Seattle Seahawks Today. 21-16 was the score as the Seahawks fell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And one of the stories of this game was the injury to Jordyn Brooks. The good news on Jordyn Brooks was he did come back to the game. So things, could have been much worse than what they were. But nonetheless, it was good to see Jordyn Brooks get back out there. In fact, after the game, he said they outplayed us at the beginning of the game. Simple as that. So it could have been worse, but it's good to see that Jordyn Brooks was A-OK, that injury should not be an issue for him going forward. The other thing that I look at, with Geno Smith, everybody's going to talk about Geno Smith in this game. Geno Smith goes 23 of 33, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns. But that fumble at the end of the game, not being consistent at the beginning of the game like he should have been, to me, I don't blame Geno for this game, but it wasn't his best performance. Next one comes in from the Boskin. Geno's value is maxed at $25 million for no more than 3 years, or we let him go and grab after another prove-it quarterback. So the report that came out this morning from Rap Sheet of the NFL Network was that Seattle plans to extend Geno Smith at the end of the year, that they plan to give him a new contract and make him their long-term quarterback, that they've seen enough. I don't know how much you're going to pay him. I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson is expected to make around $50 million potentially a year. That's kind of the baseline for elite quarterbacks. I don't know how much Geno gets, but long-term you would think has to be a minimum of 3 years, a maximum of 5 probably. We'll see. But as far as the money amount goes, with them waiting till the offseason, that tells me that Seattle is going to wait and see what the market looks like, what the market for Geno Smith says. And quite frankly, I don't know what the market is for Geno Smith until we get there to this point. So with that, we'll see. But I expect Geno's going to be a very rich man, comparatively speaking, to what he's making right now. Kenneth Walker. Wow. Kenneth Walker goes from the field to our mailbag. How about that? Hashtag Seahawks. I think Geno played like old Geno. This game, he went back to his old self. I will reiterate. I'll say this again. This loss is not on Geno. I didn't like the play calling in this game. I didn't think that the offensive coaching staff put Geno in a position that was at best to succeed. Geno, 23 of 33, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns. That fumble was his fault. He made a mistake there. But to call this old Geno, I think that's not fair necessarily to Geno Smith. Slow start, but there was a lot more factors to this than Geno Smith necessarily. So thanks for the question there, Kenneth Walker. Next one comes in. Kenneth Walker also writes in, will the Seahawks still win the division or will they fall short of the 49ers? I think they're still the favorites in the division, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to pull it off. I think it's going to probably come down right to the very end between these two teams of ultimately who will win the division. So we'll see. Seahawks or 49ers, very curious how the division race ultimately stacks up between these two. What is your one-word reaction to the Seahawks' performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today? Let us know in the comments section what your one word is, how you would describe this performance. I think my one word, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do like a hyphenated word. I'm going to say not surprising. This wasn't the Seahawks' day today, but it wasn't their worst day either. I mean, it was just meh. Maybe that's my one word, meh. Move on, take the L, and see where things go from here. Greg writes in, hashtag Seahawks. If only Geno didn't fumble, could have been a different outcome. Think Geno and company will make a comeback. Do you think the Hawks will be firing on all cylinders next time they take the field? So in 2 weeks, they'll take on the Raiders. They'll be at home. Yes, I think the bye week is going to do them wonders. That the bye week is going to be very good for Seattle's help. The fumble, you could point to that. I pointed to the decision to not punt or to punt on 4th down. There's a number of things that you could look at were the difference in this ball game, quite frankly. Geno's fumble didn't help, but I want to point that all in just that one moment necessarily. So I see where you're going at, Greg. Thanks for the question. You're mad. She's gaming, right? Hashtag Seahawks. Geno had tunnel vision and focused on Metcalf the first 3 quarters. Fantasy-wise, Metcalf got 13.1 points. Lockett got 13.2 in 2 plays. His lack of utilization of other receivers cost us the game. Maybe. You could argue that, but the tight ends, got involved there in the second half. Kenneth Walker was involved in the passing game. We saw Tyler Lockett come up with a few catches. I see what you mean, but again, I don't think you can just point this to one thing and say that was the difference in this ball game necessarily. I see where you're going at, but I don't know if I'm necessarily on the same page there. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, use the promo code Seahawks125, you'll get a 125% deposit bonus. You can bet on the rest of the NFL action this weekend. Also, you can bet on college football, NBA, and everything in between. Use the promo code Seahawks125 for a 125% deposit bonus. Chatsports.com/bet. Parker writes in, got time for a couple more questions. Parker says, hashtag Seahawks, are we still in the playoff race? Yeah. Nothing changed in that today. You lost a game. You still lead the division. That did not change. Yes, you are still in the playoff race. Absolutely. Another question from Kenneth writes, they were comparing us to the Legion of Boom, and now our defense looks like it did at the beginning of the year. But the two turnovers saved it a little. But we let up on so many third down conversions. This wasn't the defense's best outing, but you held Tom Brady. the greatest quarterback to ever play this game to 21 points. If you hold Tom Brady to 21, you should win. You should win this football game holding Brady to 21. So, no, I don't put that on the defense. To me, this was too many mistakes on the offensive part. The offense getting in its own way. I see where you're coming from, but to me, I point to the defense being the issue. Point to the offense not doing enough as far as being the issue there. But nonetheless, thanks for the question. Who was the MVP for Seattle against the Bucs? Name one player. Give me one player in the comments section who comes to mind of who the MVP was in this performance in the 21-16 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whether it's somebody we mentioned or somebody we did not mention, let me know in the comment section below. All right. Kenneth says, could this be one of the best draft classes of all time? This group's phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, what we've seen from Kenneth Walker, from Abraham Lucas to a number of guys. I mean, Tariq Woolen picked up his 5th pass today. I mean, what were they thinking? A halfback pass? I mean, that was just hilarious. Throwing it right to Tariq Woolen, putting Tom Brady out as a receiver. Trying to run the Philly special again that didn't work last time, and you tried it again. That was funny. Yeah, Tariq's great. Kobe Bryant's great. Yeah, this is Seahawks fans are going to remember this group for a very long time, Kenneth. I love it. Awesome. Roxay Mill. I got time for about one or two more here. Hashtag Seahawks. We have lost to 3 out of the 4 teams in the NFC South, the worst division. What's your opinion? It's the NFL. I mean, nothing's a given. Nothing's a slouch. I don't read into the schedule stuff or the division stuff of who you lost to and who you went to, who you beat, because this is the National Football League. Everybody's good. Everybody can win any given Sunday. So I see what you mean, but I wouldn't read into that too much as far as losing to these NFC South teams like they have. Last one from Kenneth. What could make us better at run defense, and what should we get in free agency and in the draft? What could make us better at run defense? Tackling. I'll say this. Cody Barton had that pick today. I think they need to upgrade Cody Barton's position next year. That's certainly going to help. Free agency in the draft, I drafted middle linebacker. I drafted the defensive line. But that's a discussion we'll have another day. Let's focus on this year. Let's see what this team does and go from there. Before we go, grade the Seahawks against Tampa Bay. What's your grade for this performance? I'd give it about a C. I think C's fair. It wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't great. It wasn't a win either. It was just so-so. I give it a C. Let me know in the comment section. Grade the Seahawks performance against the Bucs today, and I'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.